Welcome to the podcast about nothing in particular, where we talk about stuff. So I'm your host, Nathan Perry, and we have
I'm Hope. I'm your co-host.
Co-host and equal host.
Yes, I just looked at the camera though.
That's right. In any case, so we're back after a three-year
hiatus.
3-year break. A 3-year break, and we were going to pick it up probably a year ago and have Jacob Spencer on the podcast, but
I can't believe we're finally starting this again.
I know. It's crazy. And we're adding a video element, which I think is pretty cool, which adds almost a bit of nervousness, in my opinion. I'm like a little bit more nervous than I would be if it was just audio. I feel like I feel out of practice and as far as podcasting goes, but we started this podcast probably about 4 years ago. And yeah, so like this is something that it's a long project that we really wanted to continue to do, but I think life got in the way. But let's update the people about what we've been up to, because it's been 3 years. The last episode was in the middle of the pandemic. It was in the middle of the quarantine, I guess, so to speak. And I don't know
if I was even a part of that season.
No, you were, but the last two episodes you weren't in.
Yeah.
Because like we said, we were quarantined and we couldn't have you there every episode or whatever the case. You were busy. But it's been 2020 since we've done the podcast. And what have you been up to? Let's start with 2021, right? This is work through the years, right? What'd you do in 2021? If you can remember.
It's like blurred together. COVID like blurred everything together, you know? So the last when I was doing this podcast, when we were doing it together, I was working, I think, at the boys' group home. Pretty sure.
Yeah, you were.
I did that for about 1 year and 4 months, and that was all I could take, all I could do.
That's a tough job.
Hardest job I've ever done in my life. I went from the hardest emotionally draining, mentally draining job to the hardest physically taxing job, which is tree care. I didn't do logging necessarily. We did what was called urban forestry. I did that for about over 2 years. Towards the end of it, I started climbing trees and doing some of that work. Really enjoy that job. I don't think it's what God wanted me to do. I was gonna go all out climbing and everything.
Yeah, because
I wanted to make it my career.
Yeah, you really loved that.
I loved
job.
it. I was gonna get my arborist license, ISA certified and everything. I was working towards that, and just felt like the Lord didn't want me to have that as a career. So things kind of fell apart with that job. And then I ended up at Summer Moon Coffee Shop, in there for over a year.
Yeah, when did you start Summer Moon?
March of 22.
Yeah.
Yeah, so almost 2 years. It'd be 2 years in March, which came quick.
Yeah. So what do you do at Summer Moon? Barista?
Yeah, I'm a team lead, and I also do extra work for them as far as like delivering our burritos and stuff to the stores. Twice a week. I do Wednesday to the city stores, OKC city stores, and then Friday I deliver in Tulsa.
You go all the way to Tulsa every week? I go to
Tulsa every Friday.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 2021.
Yeah, what about you?
Tons of tree work. Well, let's recap, I guess, about you. 2021, tons of tree work.
Yeah.
That's
life. Like surface level things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like
yeah. Now, like before, like during that, I would say during that podcast when we were recording, I did not have a relationship with the Lord anymore. I walked away from him.
During 2020?
That was 2019. 2019, August of 2019.
When we were first doing the podcast, is what you're saying. Okay.
No, not the first season. The second season.
The second season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I guess now we're kind of getting away from seasons, but I guess we'll go over that in a second. But technically, we're going to call this one episode 16. That's what we're on. Okay. I think we're just going to go serialized.
Just serial, yeah.
Yeah.
But, took a long, hard journey, and the Lord being jealous for me. And I'm still walking out things that I've had in my life for the last 19 years, and but the Lord is He's jealous for us all, and He's faithful, and He's just wanted me to walk out and He's wanted me to walk out and have strength in my faith, and so
Yeah. So let's kind of talk about that. So 2019, living for God. 2020, not living for God. Is that what you're saying?
20. So I graduated college. I walked in 18, graduated in college in May of 2019.
Sure. Yeah.
Had my last class that I needed to complete, which I failed twice. Christ culture in the church.
I actually stayed with you that last
with
semester.
Professor Young.
Well, your last
We were
semester
together,
at
yeah.
school, I stayed in your dorm a little bit because I think I lived out of state at the time, right?
I think
2017,
so.
2016?
No, 19.
I don't know then. Maybe not. I know for a few days at one point I stayed in your dorm, but it's hard to remember the timeline. It
Yeah.
wasn't when you were graduating, I guess.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so you graduated living for God at that point or no?
Yeah, I mean, my last senior year, I was like really struggling with like senioritis and my relationship with God, and it was kind of long ago. I was just not seeking the Lord. I was burnt out.
Doing a lot of music then, right? Right,
I was helping a lot with worship and everything.
Yeah.
And I knew my relationship with God wasn't right, and so I just started stepping away from different things.
Sure.
And loved my sin. I mean, Psalms talks about like I forget which chapter it is. He's like the men who go down to the woman never return, for her way is sweet, but her reward is death, something like that. But
So yeah, suffice to say, quite a long rough patch. We differ on this theological point of whether you can lose your salvation. We don't have to go into that today, but
yeah,
you would say weren't a Christian anymore, lost your salvation. I would say you were prodigal. In any case,
I would say I was a prodigal as well.
Okay, so not lost salvation. You don't think you were?
No, I don't. I think once you're sealed with the Holy Spirit, you could definitely grieve Him, and you can quench Him. And if I was to die in that state, that's a little. I don't know what you would say, but I didn't die in that state, so the Lord remained faithful to me through that.
Sure.
Even though I didn't.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So throughout these years since the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
your faith has grown, your relationship with God has grown.
The last year and a half,
Yeah.
He's grown me a lot.
You've been married for a while now.
Yeah, we'll be married for 5 years in April.
That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. 5 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
and,
I remember that day. Man, I wish I would have been less fat then, but so
Men,
be it.
find you a wife who loves the Lord more than anything,
Yeah.
and who loves you enough to stick by your side and tell you and do things.
Yeah, because I mean, Betsy really put up a lot with you. I mean, based on what you've told me and based on just what I know, which we don't have to go into at all. But yeah, she's been a good wife to you, which is great.
Yeah.
So praise God for that.
She loves me for sure.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. So trees, coffee, God.
Trees, coffee. So,
Yeah.
Nate, tell us about your work life. Where were you at in 2019 and
Okay, yeah. That's a good question.
2020, 21,
So 2020, I did the last two podcasts. The last one we did was with Jordan Miller. Shout out to him and Generation Y. It's a good episode. I think the one before that was with Josh Ramirez, my friend, and we talked about foster care. So in 2020, I was fostering a young man. I'm not going to mention his name for legal reasons. I don't think you're allowed to mention foster kids' names. So I was fostering a young man. He turned 14 with me, and he was a very challenging youth. He was a very challenging kid to foster. And ultimately, he had an episode, and he threatened to stab me with a knife. And he grabbed a knife, and he probably would have done it because he's really mad because we didn't go to Target to get Pokemon cards. It's not really rational, but a lot of times these kids have really a lot of trauma. I don't blame them at all. It's just kind of like, just kind of how the kids are sometimes, I actually still talk to this kid pretty frequently. We'll get back to that. But yeah, he got arrested. He assaulted a police officer. The police came over. He assaulted a police officer. They drug him out in cuffs. They arrested him. Because of COVID, he didn't go to juvenile. He went somewhere else. And yeah, so I fostered that kid, and that was pretty heartbreaking, honestly. Is a kid I've been connected with for a while, and really believe in him. And ultimately, yeah, he got arrested. So I was fostering him. Then I wasn't fostering him. He left me with a hole in the wall and a broken window. So I had to get that fixed. Then I fostered a few kids since
So
then.
what year was that?
That was 2020.
Okay.
Like July 2020.
Okay.
So like literally a little bit after I did the last episode.
Yeah.
So I fostered that kid, and then I fostered like a 7-year-old, and that was cool. And around that time, I started doing, you swam with him, you and Betsy. And around that time, I started doing CrossFit. And this is where my life started to change physically for the better. Yeah. If you see me before, I haven't seen a lot of people since then that I used to know before.
Yeah.
I lost 50 pounds.
Yeah.
In a year doing CrossFit. And I think CrossFit is probably the most efficient, best way to work out. If you can learn to move right and learn to scale appropriately, because that's the thing. A lot of people give CrossFit a bad reputation because they're trying to do too much too soon.
Yeah.
It takes one personal responsibility and a good coach and a good gym culture, which my gym, shout out to CrossFit Fiend on Instagram, CrossFit Fiend 20. I think that's what they are, CFF Fiend 20, something like that. And
across the street from Brahms, if you want to.
Yeah, across the street from Brahms. Yeah, sometimes I do that, dude. Sometimes I get one before. I'm not even gonna lie. So yeah, I lost 50 pounds, started moving right, started feeling way better about myself. Honestly, my confidence started going up because I started to physically feel so much better. It's crazy how much your mind can be really foggy in a state of unhealth. I was pre-diabetic, which is something that I'm probably going to struggle with my whole life just because I'm genetically predisposed to diabetes. But I'm fighting off. I'm doing just fine. Lost 50 pounds. You gain a few, you lose a few, it ebb and flows. But physically, I feel really good. I'm happy with my where I am physically. Once you get into that realm, because honestly, I got into fitness thinking I'm going to go in, I'm going to lose the weight, I'm going to stop. But what you don't realize is it becomes a lifestyle, right? It becomes, to some, it can become honestly an addiction and create body dysmorphia and all that stuff. But reality is it became a lifestyle for me, and I have not stopped since. You get injured, you get worse, you get better. The reality is I'd rather go into a gym and maybe get injured every now and then than to be chronically ill from being overweight. Because I was truly fat. Not to be fat phobic. It's not healthy to be overweight. It's just not.
Yeah, it's not. It's bad for your heart, bad for your veins.
Yeah, it's bad for your
circulation.
Joints. It's bad for everything. It's bad for your confidence. It's bad for your mental state.
Yeah.
So that's physically, that's the best thing I've ever done for myself is to get in a gym, work out. And listen, the thing about CrossFit is you show up, you don't have to know anything. They'll teach you.
Yeah.
They'll show you, and they'll teach you how to do it the right way, right? A good gym. So find a good gym. If they're trying to push you to do stuff you're not ready for, there's a difference between pushing someone because they're capable of more, and there's a difference of pushing someone beyond what they're capable of, right? And a good coach is going to know the difference. So
yeah, because they've been through it.
Yeah, they've been through it. So I did that, lost 50 pounds, feel great. For the most part, kept the weight off, gained muscle, so I'm heavier because of that a little bit, but I feel good. And ran. We'll come back to that, running a marathon, but because I had been licensed long enough, and it felt like my theological framework didn't line up, right? So I would say my theological framework now is more orthodox. It's reformed to a degree, and I feel like it's robust. It's a robust faith. I feel confident in it. I praise God for it. But yeah, went to Victory Church for a while just so, this kid I had could go to youth group, and then ultimately ended up at the Vine Community Church.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome church. I'm not going there right now. We can get into that later. But yeah, I got connected with a small group, and I still go to that small group. And that small group has been a lifesaver in more than one way. And my faith has grown. My relationship with God has grown. And it's not perfect, of course. But yeah, so it's like been a really, really good group to be a part of. We meet weekly. We've studied through Romans and Luke, and I think we're currently studying Revelation right now. So,
Do you do any like? Do you go any like morning like any times of worship like as far as music worship? Praise and
I
worship?
haven't for the last couple months. We can get into that, I guess. So I was going to the Vine Community Church, and it's I would have to give a lot of context to explain why I'm not going anymore. So I think we'll probably save that for later.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going there right now. Maybe in the future I will again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been, this is kind of one of the struggles too, where it's like I have this awesome community group that's connected to one church, but I'm not connected to that church anymore. And now I'm kind of in this, where do I belong? What church do I belong to kind of thing. So right now, I mean, I haven't been to a Sunday service in a while, to be honest, which I do not think our listeners should do. That's not an ideal Christian life. You need to be a part of a church body. You need to go to church.
Yeah.
But I'm not right now because I'm just kind of struggling with that, to be honest. So I was going to OKC Community Church for a while.
That's with Manning.
Yeah, Tim Manning.
Yeah.
Manning?
I think it's Manning.
No, Manning is the NFL game. It's Manning.
Is it Manning?
Yeah.
We had him as professor.
Professor Manning.
Yeah,
Not Tim.
Manning.
But
Not Tim, yeah, but his father.
His father, yeah. No, I think it's an awesome church.
Yeah.
I have a psychological barrier going to that church though. And it's so dumb, but there's something about it. So here's my psychological barrier. I like the church, but parking is a headache. Seriously.
It is.
Parking's a headache.
It's a small area.
And then I have to cross a street, but I have to press a crosswalk. And then I have to go in, and then I have to go all the way, because by the time I get there, because I'm usually late because of small group, I have to go all the way upstairs and sit in the balcony. So there's just too many steps. I like not physical steps, but there's a lot of work. And that sounds like first world problems. Oh, there's so much, you have to drive to a area and park and then walk a little. There's a psychological barrier where I'm just like, I already have a bit of social anxiety, to be honest. So the extra barrier of just like, oh, that's just so, to me, exhausting.
You feel like everybody's eyes are on you when you're doing that?
Well, maybe a little bit, but it's just like, oh my gosh, there's just so many steps to get in there, and I have to do all this stuff. So I end up I've just been going home, but I want to find a good home church and church body. So if any of our listeners have any recommendations, I might go, might not. I don't know. So I'm kind of praying through that. I got to talk to some people about that and kind of get through that barrier. But there's also something else I want to talk about that happened. Oh, this is a big thing, right? So in 2020, I was working for the IPHC, which for listeners who don't know, that's International Pentecostal Holiness Church, which is a denomination that you're a part of. Our school was a part of it. I'm a part of it. And I was working there during the pandemic, and we were kind of remote, kind of not. We eventually went back, and it just wasn't, for me, fulfilling work anymore, because there was not really clear direction on what we were supposed to do. So I kind of wasn't even working that much, to be honest. There wasn't a lot of work to do, which me, I want to say I'm a workaholic, but I like work. I enjoy working. I like to do things. I don't like to just sit around. So there wasn't a lot to do, and the pay was really bad. I think I worked there pretty much, just barely shy of 2 years, and I got like a 24-cent raise while I was there. And at the time, man, just with the pandemic and the economy, prices were going up. It was just, and I had children. wasn't sustainable by any means. So I ended up leaving that job, working for Paccom. I worked there 3 years.
3 years. Wow.
Basically 2 of the years were fully remote. I got hired fully remote.
Yeah.
That was
crazy.
the most, dude. It was the best. I
2 years
love
remote.
working remote.
Yeah.
It was incredible. The work was good. Working from home was great. Pay was great. Raises were great. I got like a $13,000 raise at one point.
Wow.
And yeah. And then so upward mobility there. That's a great. If you shout out to Paycom and Quality Assurance, they're doing good work and they're making good money. Things are changing there a little bit, and I felt like it was my time to leave. But honestly, yeah, it was a great experience working there. No bad blood. The reason I left was and this is recently. This is just as of September 1st.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like my time had come. Right, we were in the office all day, which is fine for some people. For me, it was literally causing me to be depressed, and frankly, I was just absolutely miserable. And oh man, I couldn't do it anymore. I felt like God had other things for me in store. So I earlier this year, January 2023, started my business, Perry Media LLC, and
Shout out to Perry Media.
yeah,
LLC.
which is me basically. It's just me. But man, I just I just kind of felt like God pushing me to take that step, start my own business, and it was super scary because I didn't know if I was gonna have any money. I didn't know if I was gonna be able to make it. It's only been a couple months, but God has really proven to me that He's providing. He's provided me opportunities and jobs, and I believe He's given me a gift for video and storytelling, and I feel like I'm good at it. And I'm only going to get better. So
Yeah.
that's what I do full time now.
Yeah.
I have my own business and I do that. And then the most recent news in January, I'll be attending OU and be pursuing a master's in mental health counseling. And I'll be working towards becoming a counselor. I've just seen the huge mental health need in our community amongst foster care, for foster care parents, for foster care kids. And work with kids and families, and then try to help the American Indian community, which I'm a part of.
Yeah.
And really help anyone who needs it, to be honest. So that's kind of everything that I have. That's what's been going on in my world, and now doing the podcast again.
So your license, so you get a master's degree, and then you have to you have to go to another, like a special school or something to get experience? Isn't that how it works?
Part of the schooling, and I don't understand it fully yet, but part of the schooling is you'll do a practicum and you'll do an internship.
Okay.
Okay, and then once you finish school,
Then
you have to go take a board exam essentially.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, you have to do like however many thousands of hours of supervised
counseling.
and then you can become an official LPC.
Official, and then
And
get
you
your
can be
license
on your
and
own.
practice on your own.
Yeah, exactly. You could, I guess potentially
Kind of
open
a
up
long
your own
process.
practice. Oh yeah,
But it's very thorough as far as like making sure that
Very-
you know what you're doing.
Yes, right, yeah. And I think depending on the program you go to, I'm gonna assume all of them will be pretty good. But OU, they're pretty good about. I think they seem to be very.
I wonder
thorough about teaching you.
if the state government oversees that process.
Yeah, I think it's a state thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The exam, the board exam, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a state thing.
Huh.
So there's a lot about it that I don't fully understand. I feel like I'm pretty good with people and kids and families
Yeah.
in general. And I used to want to be a pastor.
Yeah.
And I felt like maybe that was my calling, but I feel like at the time as a kid, that's probably what, if you had kind of a pastoral heart, then that's just what you were supposed to do. But really, I feel like this is kind of where I was always supposed to land.
Well, I would say you still have a pastoral heart, because being a pastor doesn't just mean, like, I think the church image of a pastor is someone who speaks on Sunday.
Right.
Right. But
That's more of a preacher.
True.
That's more of a speaker
more
now.
Preacher, speaker. But a pastor and my understanding is having a pastoral heart, which means caring for people,
Yes.
having a big heart to see the well-being of other people.
Yeah, and I
And that's
think
what you're
that's
doing. I mean,
yeah.
so I think you still have a pastoral heart.
Yeah, but I think as a kid though, my scope was limited on what I thought that meant,
Yeah.
right? And I wish I would have pursued this a long time ago. But that being said, the journey I've been on will benefit, I think,
Hmm.
how I practice, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's all shaping up exactly how God planned it, which is probably not ideal for me, right? It would have been a lot cheaper to do this a lot younger, and but no, I'm good. I'm excited.
Well, God knew, he holds tomorrow in his hands. So,
Yeah, so
he knows.
yeah, man, I'm excited for what's gonna happen and in the future. So
Nothing's wasted.
oh yeah, definitely not. Yeah. So anything else you want to talk about as far as like what we've been up to?
Yeah. I mean, as far as, if you're talking about, I guess, ministry wise, since I've come back to the Lord, um, over a year ago, our Hope Center, which Hope Center is a kind of like a rehab center for men and women, not co in the same house, but basically, the men that I've worked with, they've gotten out of jail, prison, things like that. They might have some time against them that they have to serve, and the judge will send them there to reduce their sentence or completely eliminate their sentence. There's guys that have just come off the street voluntarily, and there's guys who've they've come in because of their families and things like that. But Hope Center, they put on our church has partnered with them, and Thanksgiving of not last year or year before last, I believe. The Hope Center, the guys actually served and cooked and everything the Thanksgiving for our church, and then during that they gave some introduction testimonies and things, and during that, it just felt like the Lord put a burden on my heart for them to just just started kind of crying for them, and I'm just like, oh, am I supposed to volunteer there? And feel like I'm supposed to volunteer there. So I started that. I've gone through maybe 3 or 4 guys. One guy who's graduated, but he unfortunately had to go back behind and serve time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it really reduced his sentence. So, but he still has to serve out the rest of his time.
Oh, so he knew going in that he'd have to do that. That he'd have to serve time.
It was against him the whole time, but he was hoping, that it would, they would completely get rid of it. But so he graduated the center, and he was actually an intern there for a while, and then they had to go back, unfortunately. But 2 other guys, they left early, about 6 months in. Another, he was forced to leave because of he got a hold of some things he wasn't supposed to. And then the guy that I have now, he's been there for 8 months. He came off the street. He was homeless. We can go into detail, but so I've been serving there and doing that, helping mentor them, and it's the more that I do it, the more rewarding that I see it is. Not for sure for them, but it's a lot. It's really awesome to be a part of that. I help run the sound at our church, in the big church.
Yeah.
Recently, I think over a year ago, Betsy, who's our youth pastor, she asked me if I was serving small groups and stuff and helping with worship, and she was like, I really want a live band like the students, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I helped start developing them, and it's been a journey, but it's also really cool to see like the music side of things will come if you practice it, and the Lord's giving you a talent for that. But also like the discipleship part, helping develop them spiritually is really, really cool. It's like trying to figure out when I first started, I was like, what am I supposed to be doing? And I would like try to like prepare like some kind of devo for them and just overthinking it a lot.
Sure.
And I just came to terms with like just point him to Jesus. Whatever that looks like, just point him to Jesus. That's all I have to offer. I don't have anything else to offer. I don't have my own wisdom or my own expertise. So I think doing that has helped them a lot. Also going to Accelerant for them has, not just the worship team, but the whole youth group, really changed it. So if you're a youth pastor, I was talking to a friend of mine who used to be my youth pastor here in OKC last night, and he recently had to step up. And I would say that if you're a youth pastor, just be consistent. I think they said the turnaround rate for youth pastors is 2 years in America. And I would say it takes at least a year and a half, or maybe even 2 years, to really develop a good relationship with the students.
Yeah, and I think the ministry in general, there's just such a desire to make it more than it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's simple, right? It's like, this is what I really love about the Vine, is like, it's a simple church. Like, there's no extra fluff.
Yeah.
There's not a show.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of what bothers me about, the American church sometimes, is just the show, right? It's
yeah.
I think there's a great book called The Way of the Dragon or The Way of the Lamb. It talks about how we use power. And I think a lot of times we're trying to be powerful in our own way instead of letting God let us use our weakness. Because really, at the end of the day, that's what God has asked us to do. It's Corinthians, right? Where he talks about like our power is perfected in weakness. That is what we're supposed to operate in. And I think a lot of churches is like, let's put on this massive show and all this stuff, which is not sinful in and of itself. But when that becomes the main thing, or that becomes where you're getting your source of power, how you're persuading people to come into the building or to be a part of the church.
Yeah, I think they're trying to evangelize people into the doors. Yeah,
right. Like, God is the one, like Christ is the one who is doing the hard work. He is the one who is giving people the faith to believe in him.
Yeah.
And this is kind of where I wouldn't call myself a Calvinist. I wouldn't call myself Arminianist. I'm just a Christian, but I see the melding of those two theologies, and I think both are right to a degree. And I think it's both, which is the mystery of the gospel. It's the mystery of, Christ himself, is that we don't fully understand salvation, so, I think that's awesome. What else? I think we're going to have to wrap it up here pretty soon, because we're going to JiuJitsu. Adam's going to join me for JiuJitsu today. That's one thing, I guess. Another new thing about me is
JiuJitsu.
So about probably 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 5, I did JiuJitsu for just a very, very short time, month, 2 months, something like that. And it just became too expensive. I was also really out of shape before I started doing CrossFit. So I was kind of insecure and I wasn't moving very good and it was embarrassing. But I've always wanted to pick it back up, and I have. And it's one of those things. Well, maybe we'll probably I think we should do another episode about jiu-jitsu by itself, maybe bring in someone. But it's grueling, man, in some ways not. But you're going to come do that with me here shortly, right after we film this. We're going to head to the mats and do an 11 o'clock class, and it's gonna be Adam's first jiu-jitsu class. I think would be pretty fun. We'll follow up with you guys about how that goes and everything. So,
I also got a new dog.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, his name is Bubby. We've had him for and probably since the summer.
No, longer, right?
Maybe. Has it been that long?
Not quite a year, because I house sat for you last December.
He was here?
No.
Okay, so I think we got him.
You just had a cat.
I think we got him in the spring.
Okay.
I think we got him in the spring. So his name is Bubby.
Yeah, you adopted him.
Yeah.
But for those adopt, not shop folks, okay, he didn't buy the dog.
No, we did buy him.
You bought him?
We did buy him. Mm-hmm. We paid for him.
How much?
I think it was $100.
Oh. Why even sell a dog at that point? $100?
Mm-hmm.
$100 is not.
He was going to be a
nothing.
hunt dog. He was going to be a hunt dog, but he kept bringing back sticks instead of the rabbit. So
yeah, because the guy who had him is a hunter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was using them for running.
And now he's overweight.
he's overweight.
He's a little overweight.
Well, he got neutered.
So
that
his
happens. So
we'll throw a photo up.
We're trying to regulate.
I don't know.
We're trying to regulate. His weight after this bag of dog food.
Yeah, so his hormones is all messed up.
Yeah, so we'll get him on some like special diet. So he loves to eat though, as all beagles do. If you have a beagle,
cute dog, nice dog, well behaved.
He's a blue tick beagle, so
he doesn't jump on people, which is really good.
He usually
he didn't jump on me.
We train him pretty early on not to do that.
Good.
As far as like what's hard and something that I need to train him on is like coming to us when we call him.
Yeah,
like we should be the most important things. I think he's over a year old now, just over a year maybe.
That's still a baby. Not a baby, but it's still under 2 is.
Oh, he's still wild like a puppy. He still has puppy energy.
He's still a puppy. That's the word I was trying to say.
Yeah, he still has puppy energy. His face is still finally starting to lose that puppy. He's starting to look more square. That square snout as a big.
Is that a thing? I don't even know.
Yeah, they have like a more, their ears flop over.
I got you.
Anyway, Mr. Bubby Roo Hope.
Yep.
Bubby Roo.
Well, you got a big love for dogs. I mean, you helped me raise Watson when we had him in the apartment.
Yeah, I'm really more of a cat person though.
I like cats, and I cat sat for you last, I guess, December, Christmas.
Yeah. Millie, our cat.
You got a nice cat, but man, the hair, dude, it's so frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do the hair. I love cats, and actually,
some cats don't shed as much. You can get cats that don't really shed. Yeah.
So my dream cat, and I'm gonna have one day, maybe. I like the Sphinx cats, the hairless ones. Oh my god,
a hairless cat? You think?
I think they're. People are gonna think I'm crazy, but I think they're so cute.
Like it's like what's that kid? The naked mole rat from
I mean, it's. I guess you could draw some similarities, but dude, I love them. I want one so bad.
Well, just get them. You just
no. They're like they're like $2 or $3 grand. I can't get one.
Yeah, but
I can't.
They literally take care of themselves. You just change their litter. And you feed
hairless
them.
Cats are a little different. You have to bathe them more often. You have to,
really?
Yeah, because like their
skin will dry out or something.
Skin, and you gotta be careful how you bathe them, and they're very needy, so you have to be around. And I am home a lot, working from home, generally, unless I'm out on a shoot. So, but here's the thing, though.
Interesting.
They're too expensive right now. With the way the economy is, and I'm about to be I'm a college student again.
Yeah,
own my own business. True. It's just not the wisest thing. But one day I will have one. Day. Probably. I don't know. I'd like to have one at least. I think they're so cute. Most people think they're ugly and nasty. I think they're awesome.
I don't know what they look like. What are they called? Sphinx cats?
Sphinx cats, I think.
How do you spell that?
I'm not going to spell that on air. I'm going to get embarrassed.
SPHY.
There's an X in there somewhere. Something like that.
SPHYNX.
Sounds right.
Sphinx cat.
Yeah. I'm going to name him Beerus. If you understand that reference, we're friends.
The first one that popped up, they had a tattoo. The cat had a tattoo.
Ooh, that can't be real.
I don't know.
That can't be real.
That's hilarious. Interesting.
Yeah, no, they're beautiful creatures. They really are. I love them.
It looks like from a distance they have hair, but they don't.
I mean, they might be
because of the shade of their skin. Their skin shade.
Well, some of them are darker, some of them are lighter. There's Bambinos, which have really short legs. I don't like Bambinos. I think they need to stop.
Bambinos?
Yeah, they have really short legs, and I don't think that's healthy for a cat. I could be wrong, but it seems wrong to have.
Oh yeah, because
it's like, I mean, it's like
a rat.
It's bad, man. It's bad. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
Oh, cats, they thrive on like jumping and climbing.
Yeah. So that's Bambino, I don't know, man. It just doesn't seem right. And I guess the last new thing about me is you may have noticed I have a cowboy hat now.
I thought you've always had a cowboy hat.
No, never. Not always. Greg got me this cowboy hat.
Really?
Yeah. And it's finally, so you don't wear, is a felt hat, Stetson. You don't want to wear a felt hat during the summer. And
so it's a winter hat?
Fall hat.
Fall hat?
When it's cold enough, right?
How many X's is it on it?
Let's look.
50?
6X. 100% pure felt.
6X.
Yep. And I actually haven't wore it that much ever since I got it.
So the more X's that you have, the more, like, I know it gets expensive, right?
I don't even know. This hat was not the most expensive, but it wasn't cheap.
It's still a nice hat. I still have the hat. I still have your Amish hat that you gave me.
Oh, do you really?
I do. It's in
Should
my
wear that next
closet.
time.
I can go put it on right now.
Ah, well, next time.
Next time. I still have it.
We're so tied down right now. It's not the ideal setup. Might move the camera. But yeah, so I think let's wrap it up. Man, thanks everyone who tuned in. We deleted the Instagram and we brought it back. So I reposted everything. Yeah. Honestly, I thought we were done. I didn't think we were gonna do it again. But you know, we tried to pick it up last year. We ultimately didn't follow through, and I don't know. I'm just passionate about. I've been involved in podcasting to some degree since high school. I remember I created my first podcast in high school. We only did like a couple episodes, but I really thought the medium was really, really cool even back then. So it was like 2012, 2013, something like that. So I've loved the medium, and adding video into it, I think is pretty cool. So I think, you know, wherever this goes I think it's in God's hands, but I, even just as a passion project, I love it, dude. I like podcasting a lot. So I'm happy that we're doing it again. Feels like a piece of me is coming back. That's important, you know? So.
Well, it gives us opportunity to have some time together too.
Yeah, because we haven't really hung out. We haven't hung out a lot in the past.
It's so different when you graduate. It's like college. You just get together and you hang out. Whereas like after college, it's like just different.
Yeah,
you have to make you have to make a major point to get together.
Yeah,
especially when you're married.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I think I've only seen you a handful of times this whole year, probably.
Yeah.
We used to do a Tuesday night small group, but that kind of fizzled out. We used to see each other every Tuesday.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we'll do this more regularly. We have no idea when these episodes are going to come out. They're going to come out as we can, right? So we both work. We both have a lot of other commitments. So, but we'll definitely try to make this a priority as much as we can. So yeah.
Yep.
Appreciate everyone who's listening.
Thanks for listening to us. Having us in your car, in your home.
Yep. On your screen.
In your ears, in your screen, wherever. On your road trip, on the plane.
That's right.
However.
Yep. So check us out on YouTube.
However you're listening. Thank you.
Yeah. Check us out on YouTube. We'll be on YouTube. We'll be on Apple Podcast, and we'll be on Spotify. We are on all those platforms. Feel free to go back and listen to our old episodes. They're old. Our thoughts may have changed. They may have not. We don't know. I haven't listened to those episodes in a long time.
Yeah.
So don't judge us too hard. You can judge us based on these.
People change.
You can judge us on these new episodes, but maybe not. Judge
you can judge me all you want.
I don't care. Yeah, I'm living my life.
Easy come, easy go.
That's right. So yeah, thanks again. Thanks for tuning in to the podcast about nothing in particular, where we don't have a catchphrase, so we make it up every time.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Jesus loves you.
Bye.